Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. I want to tell you a story today that is too good to be true. It's honestly, if I didn't live it, I would not believe the story at all. So hang with me, and hopefully it encourages you. So when I was in college, I used to drive the same path. I lived about 10 minutes off of campus, and I'd drive the same road, every day. And I was also doing ministry at the time, so I would often come home in the evenings after doing some sort of an event. And I would drive past this one church. There was literally one church on the path from college to this place. The unique thing about that church is that there was always a light on out front. And it was a unique time in my life because I was pretty new to my faith, and I was trying to figure out what God wanted me to do. And so I had my desires, and I had what I thought God wanted from me, and I just didn't know how to put them together at the time. So every time I drive past this church, there was just something that made me comfortable about that light out front. I actually remember thinking to myself, this is like the Motel 6s of church. And at the time, I hadn't been attending church much, so I didn't know that was unique, that there was just this light on all the time. And it would cause me to think about God and cause me to think that, He's always with me. And I rested in that. But over time, it wasn't enough to just drive by the church. I started actually pulling over, and I would spend time asking God to just show up in my life. Even like begging Him to just put it on a billboard, make it so clear that I know that no matter what I do, I'm doing exactly what He wants me to do. And it just didn't happen that way. And as I've had conversations with friends and through different opportunities to speak with people, I don't know many people that it is that clear or that it is that direct. And so all I know is that I continued to pull over in front of that church throughout these college years. And then I went on with my life. I got a job at a church, and I was doing some ministry things. And over time, my career led me to a spot that I actually pulled in front of that church one day again. And it hadn't dawned on me that when I pulled up to this church and I got out of the car and I walked up to these front doors holding the keys to that church, that the church I used to pray in front of 12 years ago for direction was now the church that I ran. And that, to me, up until that point, I honestly had never thought about it again. The moments when I was asking God to show up and show me a path, He had been preparing me and preparing me and preparing me until one day I walked into this church ready to lead it. I would have never painted that picture. I remember in my interview with this church, I told them I didn't want to work for a church. And yet somehow God was working and I just couldn't see it. And so if you're in this same spot, I want to encourage you. I want to actually share a story from Matthew. It's actually Matthew 4:19. Jesus is walking down the beach or down along the shore of some water. I didn't want to paint like the flowy hair Jesus, right? Okay. So He's just walking along the shore, and there's two brothers out fishing, Simon Peter and Andrew. And they're in the water fishing, or in their boat fishing, and Jesus says, "Come follow me." Which is an odd request, right? I don't know this guy, but come follow me. And He follows it up with, "I will make you fishers of men." And so He takes these two guys who are very good fishermen, and they know their trade very well, and Jesus says, "What you've been doing your whole life is preparing you for something that I have planned for you, something bigger, something better." While they're fishing, do you think they ever thought that they probably aren't the biggest people skill guys in the world, right? But Jesus said, "Look, I'm going to take what you've been doing and I'm going to make it. We're going to use it if you're willing to follow me." And so if you find yourself, as I do, I continue to have the question of, God, what do you want from me? And how do I live that out? If you're in that spot, I just want to encourage you that two things. One, to follow. At that point, I spent time pulling over enough times that God started to open doors and show me the path without me knowing He was showing me the path. And two, to trust that you might already be doing what God wants you to be doing. If you continue to follow Jesus and bring Him along with you in that story, He may reveal a total career path, like from catching fish to being fishers of men. Or He may just continue to knock doors open for you, like He did for me, that somehow this church that I sat in front of became the church that I ran. And those are things we can't see in the moment. So I would encourage you just to be faithful, to continue to take a step and trust that Jesus is saying, just follow me. Come follow me and I will show you the path. I will show you how everything that you've been doing and will be doing continues to knit together. I understand that it's not always clear and it's not always direct, and it certainly isn't always hallmark like my story has been. But I can also assure you I had no idea that it was going to end up that way in those moments. So keep following and keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to follow us each week, click here to subscribe. And if you want to take it a little bit further, click here for discussion materials.